What you've just seen are images from a 15-year journey. So many people giving their support. Now we need yours. I'm Jeremy Gilley. I'm a filmmaker and the founder of Peace One Day. As a filmmaker, it really excited and inspired me that the form, the camera, could really drive a process through. The second film I made documented the first ever lives being saved on the day. And that took us into Afghanistan. Jude Law travelled with me. It was a great success. Everybody became involved in Afghanistan, including the Taliban, who agreed not to harm health workers on the day. As a consequence of that, and because of everybody's hard work, particularly the United Nations, 10,000 health workers were able to vaccinate millions of children against polio. It demonstrated that the day was far from symbolism and that it could work in a place where many thought it was impossible. At that time, the UN in Afghanistan announced a 70% reduction of violent incidents on Peace Day. It blew me away.
The cynic used to say that the day existed, but what difference does a day make? And what I saw in Afghanistan the 2 times we went was, well, the difference is life or death.
But this is not only a day of ceasefire, it's also a day of non-violence. Because just as important is the violence that's happening in our homes, our schools, our places of work, and our local communities. Everyone, therefore, has a role to play. We had to get the word out. So we decided to build a series of coalitions made up of organisations committed to activating their networks on Peace Day. Thousands of organisations were activated by these coalitions across the world for Peace Day 2013. It was the greatest participation that we've ever seen. With the support of McKinsey & Company, we believe that around 500 million people are now aware of Peace Day, with around 8 million behaving more peacefully as a result of being involved in activities on the day. Now, with the support from the Howard G. Buffett Foundation, Peace One Day is running a major campaign in the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Great Lakes region of Africa.
I'm sitting at a Coca-Cola board meeting and I'm watching this clip and I see this guy in this and I'm thinking, well, peace, you know, everything we're doing in all these countries is about peace. Jeremy, you have a track record. You don't give up, you don't quit. Peace One Day is the answer.
We're engaging with all sectors of society with a focus around young people, women and music. We hope to see a measurable reduction of violence on Peace Day by 2016 at the latest. Our concert in Goma, DRC on Peace Day 2014 will help us take the message of Peace Day and this call to action in the region to a global audience.
Well, I think this is an initiative that will be very impactful to nations abroad, our neighbors, and more than anything, our youth. You know, and I think Congo is a great place to actually start this initiative. And I'm very excited to be headlining this concert and also being in a position to where I can, you know, be of impact as far as bringing more peace to the world.
Peace One Day's theme is who will you make peace with? By working together, we will improve the quality of our lives and, of course, the lives of others. So, who will you make peace with? Around 500 million people are already aware of the day. Will you help us tell the rest of the world? Here's to Peace Day. Thank you.
I first came across Prem Rawat because I was asked to speak at an event at the European Parliament.
Jeremy Gilley from Peace One Day.
Thank you for your wise words. Thank you to the European Parliament for inviting me here today.
And I saw him tell one of his stories, and it was, it was beautiful and it was profound, and it was inspiring. And so I clearly knew in that moment that I was listening to a man who had, an awful lot of wisdom on the issues of peace, and had clearly been thinking about it all his life.
It is incumbent upon us to use our resources, intelligence, and the goodness of our hearts to bring forth peace on this planet Earth, regardless of how impossible it may seem.
And then I found out, obviously, that he'd been speaking about it all his life, and that he'd been travelling the world and speaking to hundreds of thousands of people every year on the topic, and devoted his entire life to inspiring and empowering people all over the world to think about peace and to act for peace in their own individual way. And he's an incredible human being, you know, a very wise and courageous, powerful man.
It is not the world that needs it, it is us as individuals who need the peace.
You know, given my own journey in relation to creating a day of peace and then, you know, trying to prove that it could work and now make it, institutionalize it, then there were lots of synergies for us to be able to potentially, you know, do some work together.
As a filmmaker, I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make a film about peace because I wanted to answer some of those fundamental questions. And then I realized there was no day of peace. Together, we can create peace one day. Please go to your friends, your colleagues, your families, and let us unite on the 21st of September, 2012, and send a message to the new generation that we can change and things can be different. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Well, I jumped at the opportunity of being able to have a one-to-one with him because, you know, I knew that this was an individual who has obviously been on a much longer journey than I've been on. It's really wonderful that Prem, you know, given that he is so, you know, obviously the peace is his life, and talking about it and inspiring and empowering people all over the world, for him to, you know, inform the global community at whatever level he can that there is a day of ceasefire and non-violence, and it's an opportunity for them to unite with others around the world. Nice to meet you, nice to meet you. And I had no idea that it would be as entertaining as it was. Here we go.
Here we go.
The process that we're sort of involved in now, which is, there was sort of 280 million people involved last year, about 600 million people this year. McKinsey and Company is saying about 3 billion people aware, you know, by 2016. And for us, it's been as a filmmaker, you know, using the camera to, you know, create a day of peace and then to prove it could work, and, you know, using media. I'm sort of, I'm interested because, you know, you have your own red camera, which is about the best camera in the world. I mean, what's your background in relation to kind of filmmaking and photography? And
Well, when I was very young, I was very interested in taking pictures, but I didn't have a camera. So I did as much research as I could, talking to photographers and so on and so forth. And the first thing I did was made myself a pinhole camera.
And what's a pinhole camera?
Well, you basically take a shoebox and cut out in the back and put like a wax paper and then just make a pinhole on one end, and that acts as a lens. And you look through and you can see an inverted image, but that's your camera.
And that continued, did it? Your love for kind of photography and capturing imagery, and that continued throughout your life?
Yes, it has, and I really enjoy taking photographs and try to show things or take pictures of things that are common everywhere, but we don't see them that way. You know, and this is so much to do with what I do, because I try to bring out an aspect of something that is so there for every person, because really that peace that people are looking for is inside of them, but they're looking everywhere else. And to just take that moment and stop and look at that one thing that always has been there and really take a look at it. You know, maybe it's taken with a macro lens, and all of a sudden it's not a small thing, but it's really big that you're looking at, and you see its beauty, you see how it is. And it's just wonderful to be able to take that moment, because that's what it is. Of all the moments that we have in our life, you take the shutter and you click it, and you have just frozen a moment in time. And you can look at it and you can admire it again and again and again. And the way it can, you know, make you feel, even though it's a moment from the past, but it can evoke something in you at the present. and you can see, you can realize, you can understand something about yourself from things that are all around us.
That's interesting to think about peace like it's a picture. I mean, because it's kind of like that. That's kind of what you're saying, isn't it? You know, peace is something that you can find, but you just need to look for it and see it and feel it. Is that right? I mean,
well, peace is fundamentally inside of every human being, you know, and we need to look at ourselves as the source of peace. Long time ago, that's what Socrates said, know thyself. I mean, he could have said anything. He could have really, truly said anything. Go climb that mountain, you know, remove that rock, dry up that ocean. But he said, know thyself. And people talk about this, but they really sometimes don't understand what does that mean? To look at yourself as the source of that peace, as the source of that clarity, as the source of that joy.
I spent 13 years on the road, you know, talking about peace and trying to create a day of peace, which we did, and the idea that, you know, if our world could unite separate from politics and religion and stand together as one, then in that unity would perhaps come a little shift in our consciousness around the fundamental relationships that we have around peace and sustainability. You know, the idea that we come together as one. What do you think of that idea? What do you think of the idea of us standing together in the name of peace on a global scale?
I think it is incredibly admirable if anyone makes those attempts to bring that consciousness in people. Think about peace, understand peace. That is so important because it just doesn't happen every day. You know, it's the red lights, it's the yellow lights, it's the green lights, it's the stop signs, it's the yellow lines on the roads, and you got to be on this side, and you got to do this, and you got to do this, and all these responsibilities. But how important is peace to a human being? Because I really feel that peace is very fundamental. And so anybody who takes those steps, who helps people recognize the need for peace in their lives and the importance of peace in our society, that's an incredibly admirable thing to do, and it's so, so important in our society.
What about when I asked you that last question? I was thinking about something else, and I forgot what I was going to say, which is why I suddenly asked what I was going to ask. But what about for myself? I mean, so we're going around the world and we're talking about peace, and we're trying to promote peace, and we're trying to promote a day of peace, and we know that it's not just about one day. We know it's months and months of work for people to lead up to that day. So they're thinking about it all the time in many ways. The day is just a realization of their kind of creativity and aspiration and desire to be involved. What happens when I get angry? I mean, I got angry the other night at something that I didn't like. Most of the time I'm at peace. I mean, what does that say about me if I lose my cool? I mean, do you ever lose your cool?
All of that says about you is you're a human being. You know, ideally for a tree, it has taken a lot of effort, it has made a lot of effort to be clear and straight. But then when the wind blows, it has also learned to rock back and forth. Because if it doesn't, the branches will break. And so to me, there are all these attributes that we have. I mean, yes, you get sad, you get happy, you get angry. That's not the issue. You know, the anger isn't the issue. It's where are you coming from in your life? Are you actually anchored in peace? Is peace fundamentally there for you or not? Because if it isn't, then when the storm of anger comes, you'll get uprooted because you have no foundation. But the foundation is what's important. Getting angry and then understanding something from it is not a problem. Getting sad and then understanding something from it is not a problem. But what is a problem is when you get swept in that storm. You're gone. You know, the anger has you. And one thing that I say is that you are the mother of your thoughts and father of your actions. So if your actions are being driven by anger, you have a problem. Your actions should be driven by peace, by understanding, by clarity, by simplicity, by joy that is fundamental to you. Anger comes, maybe you learn something from it. You understand something from it. I mean, stupid things happen in this world. I mean, let's face it, because I think too many people think the idea of peace is to become a vegetable. You know, you sit on some mountain and you are completely impervious to everything that happens around you. Well, excuse me, that's not going to happen. You are a human being. You have the ability to see. That's why you have eyes. So it seems to me, why have eyelids? I mean, it seems so anti-eyes, because all of a sudden, these two little things come along and you can't see. So what's the point of having eyelids? Well, no, eyelids are very, very important. So all these textures exist in our life, but what do we choose? We have to make the choice. Do we learn something from our anger, or do we let the anger drive us? Do we understand why we were angry and then better prepare ourselves? Or we allow the storm of anger, sadness, desperation to just sweep us by and have the better of us?
It's very interesting, isn't it? I mean, I was interested in your filmmaking stuff, and I'd love to talk to you more about that, your use of media, because it's fascinating and it's wonderful and it's so constructive. And it's great how art, the form, the paintbrush, the pen, the camera, you know, they say the pen was mightier than the sword. For me, the camera is. It's like, you know, it's such an object, isn't it? Which can be used in such a phenomenal way, which of course you do. I'd love to talk more about that. But certainly the beginning of my journey was because I was so angry about what was going on in the world. I didn't understand why I was humiliated at school. I didn't understand why, you know, the world was behaving that it was. And as a consequence of me being angry about everything around me, I wanted to go on a journey to create a day of peace where I knew I would fail because I didn't think it would succeed. And then I could point my finger at how unwilling humanity is to come together, even for a day. But of course, the opposite happened. You know, and of course it succeeded, and I'm less angry and I'm more hopeful now than I've ever been. And it's kind of interesting, isn't it, how I see what you're saying. You know, in many ways you can turn your anger into an energy for good, as well as utilizing it for something that's destructive. And you're saying that's okay, which of course it is.
Yes, you're the mother of your thoughts and father of your actions.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get angry and they misdirect that energy and do very bad things. I mean, look what's happening in this world, you know. There are people who, you take a baby and the baby wants to feel good. You know, the baby wants to feel just happy. And so all of a sudden it finds itself in a situation that it's not happy with. Well, it takes that anger and uses it to inform the mother, there's something wrong here, everything isn't right, I'm not happy, make it right. And the mother comes along and, you know, whatever it is, you want food, your diaper's wet or whatever. And then when that has been taken care of, the baby goes quiet. Baby falls silent. Why can't we learn that basic thing from a baby? That yes, maybe there is something to be angry about, like you did. Hey, this world is fighting with each other all the time, and that makes me angry. And so you took that anger and you diverted it positively. And now you are seeing a whole another side that you didn't see before. And that's wonderful, you know.
It's a fight, isn't it, a little bit? I mean, like peace, I feel like, you know, sometimes I feel like I have to fight for peace. And I wonder what you think of that. I mean, like a sailor, like a captain of a little boat in a big sea with a big wind and a small crew. There's no time to be pleasant. Yeah, you pull that sail quickly. Otherwise, we're going to go down. And sometimes, like running Peace One Day, you know, doing this work, it's so rapid, yeah, because there's no time. that sometimes I feel like, gosh, you know, it's like you're trying to kind of guess, you know, other people's, you know, you've got to get a good result. And sometimes other people's, maybe external, don't want that result for whatever reason it might be. And you're kind of trying to manipulate your way through a situation which ultimately saw the guns stop in Afghanistan. I mean, you know, and I know that 3-year journey to make it happen in Afghanistan, where everybody, including the Taliban, stopped fighting, where millions of children, that was not yes. It wasn't, was it? It was a process of trying to work out and fight. I mean, is that all right? I mean, is peace a fight sometimes?
Well,
to create it?
Of course it can be. But let's just look at the basics of it. In my opinion, and I've thought about this a lot, almost 40 years of trying to talk to people, and what I understand is one simple thing, that if you're trying to create manifestations of peace without peace, it's going to be problematic. If peace is at the core, then the manifestations of peace will be automatic. They will happen. But if the peace is missing in a very fundamental place, and you're just trying to create the manifestations, it's going to be very, very difficult. And that's why I try to take my message of peace, that peace is inside of you. I mean, I call it my message. It's really not my message. Many people have said this. Peace is inside of you. Search yourself, seek within you, and find that peace. Because unless that happens, trying to just create different things that reflect peace is going to be hard. I mean, you know, if you are thirsty, your lips are dry, and you're not feeling good because you're thirsty. Now you can take lip balm and you can put lip balm on your lips, and you can, you know, try to put makeup on your face to look a little bit better. You can put on new clothes and everything. But really the issue is the thirst. And if the thirst has not been satisfied, putting lip balm on your lips isn't going to take care of the real issue. If you are hungry and you're feeling weak, the issue is eat food, because that is what you're really feeling. All these things that are the consequence of lack of food. If you are cold, you can try to, you know, just stand there and go, well, no, I'm not cold, I'm okay. But if you're cold, there's going to be an uncomfort. And if you want to get rid of that, warm yourself up. A lot of people get involved with the different manifestations of peace. So what happens? People start calling what is not peace, peace. War becomes acceptable. And then there is a fight. Because how do you go in the midst of people who do not see any other alternative but to fight? And they hope that by fighting they will win, and by winning, then there will be peace. Well, no. Peace has to be in a fundamental level. And then you don't have to worry about the manifestations. The manifestations will be there.
How do you think it's, you know, the use of media and the camera? How do you utilize it, and has it really moved everything forward for you? I mean, you know, you spoke earlier when we met. You designed a little box, you know, where you can sit. You know, you can sort of sit behind. I mean, amazing. You know, I mean, what does it mean to you, the use of media in your process? How are you utilizing it?
Well, you know, when I first started, the only thing, actually, we didn't even have tape recorders. It was not available in India. So there was a couple of people who used to come and take notes in shorthand. That's how it began. And then the tape recorders became available. And then there was no video. And then I remember I was in England and they introduced the first portable video set. It was black and white. It was a first portable black and white video camera. And it was a huge machine you had to lug around, and this electric thing, and the battery only lasted like 20 minutes. But I could see the potential that if you can take a message, and a message of whether it is peace, goodwill, trust, understanding, humanity, and bring it to people where they can have a fuller experience of watching it, not just audio, but visual and audio, that it makes a bigger difference for them. They can be more engaged, and of course people go watch movies, and that's entertainment. And for an hour and a half to 3 hours in India, they make 3-hour movies in India, people forget about their problems, forget about their troubles, and they are entertained. They're in a different world, visually, audio, and now, of course, they've got seats that move and everything else. I see using the media to talk about peace as though if this is what cameras were invented for. Bring the experience of hope to people by using this magnificent brush, audio, video, bring it. In India, when we used to do these large events, people couldn't see from the back. So I said, let's get one of these large daylight screens. And when we started having those, and people from the back could see me, they couldn't see me on the stage, I was too tiny, but they could see me on the big screen, it changed everything for them. They were like, wow, go out there and watch this, and this is really good. And of course, I create cartoons, we create cartoons from little stories that people can watch, because even young kids come to these events. And just to entertain not their mind, but their hearts for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And that's my little show. Let me talk to your heart today. And whatever this media, I think technology is wonderful. It can be used in a bad way, and it can be used in a good way. And I want to use it in a good way. I want to reach people. I want to make them aware of peace. I want to make them like you do, like you do. And it's just wonderful to be able to use this palette to create this incredible painting. Because you could, take all black paint and paint it on a canvas, and, well, that's that. Or you can make something magnificent. And it's really the hand, the artist, the emotion. And of course, that the emotion of peace is amazing, when you see it making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, the camera is incredible. And can you just briefly tell me, for those who don't know, all of these things that we're learning and these insights are fascinating, but, we know that you loved cameras when you were young. And we know that you go around the world talking about peace and inspiring and empowering people. But, where did it, what happened? I could say to you, okay, listen, my life, I was at school until I was 12. I became an actor. At 25, I set up a television company. I'm now 44, and I make films about peace. That's my life. I could spend an hour, couldn't I, telling you about that? Could you tell me a similar thing about you, so that for those who don't know, and of course there are many, many who do, but for those who don't, what happened? Why are you talking about peace?
My father passed away. There was a lot of people who were there in this hall. And my father inspired me to talk. When he would give his talks, he would say, okay, now you talk. And I was very young, but I would talk about peace, talk about...
When you say you were very young, how young?
Oh, I started speaking when I was 4 years old.
About peace?
About peace.
Wow.
I could not yet formulate the words properly, but I started speaking. So I see all these people are sitting in this hall. I'm about 6, 7 years old, and they're all crying because they all liked him. They got a lot out of him. He told them about peace, and so they're all crying. And nobody's doing anything about it. And I see the sadness in people. So I got up and I said, don't be sad. Don't be sad. That spirit that moved you is still with you. That was always in you. And I have never looked back since then. And I've been going around talking about peace, the human empowerment. You are much more than you realize. You are greater than the sum of all things you see. You are greater, in fact, than sum of all things you think you have accomplished. And up till the point that the breath comes into you and you are alive, there is no limit to what you can accomplish. People look at their lives and they go, everything is over for me. I'm in prison and I have no hope. I go talk to people who are in prison. And I can tell you that there are no bars in this world that can stop hope from rekindling within a human being.
That's really right. We both know. I speak to people, most days, and young people particularly. The education materials we have now are in the 6 official languages, used in 197 countries. It's the most important thing to me, inspiring and empowering young people to be the driving force behind the vision of a united and sustainable world, and giving them the tools to do such a thing. Giving them tools to become peacemakers. I remember, I'm sure you know him, De Mello, who was prosecutor of the International Criminal Court of Justice at The Hague. I said to him, when's the International Court of Justice, when's it going to shut this place? And he said, it won't shut until we give the tools to young people to become peacemakers, proper tools, teach them to become peacemakers, not just talk about it. And it was really interesting, and I found that fascinating. And of course, we're really involved in that area. But when I'm talking with young people, they see the movies, they see the journeys that we've been on and everything. They say to me, why did you never give up? And because I was in New York when 9/11 happened. Well, why when 9/11 happened didn't you stop? What keeps you going? There's this sort of sense of peace isn't possible, and you did something really heroic, and what is it about you? And I don't have it, and what I immediately say is I think that for me, failing is everything. For me, a no is so much more exciting than a yes. And I chase no's more than I do yeses in many ways. And I think the moment that I failed in whatever I did was when the success happens, because I know at that point that I'm going to learn way much more as a consequence of that failure. And why isn't that failure really kind of celebrated? And do you think that one of the barriers, therefore, to a more peaceful and sustainable environment is the idea that many individuals, because of the images of war and everything that we're seeing and what we're bombarded with, and that kind of, if you're a failure, I was told I was a failure, so, I thought I was a failure until a few years ago. Do you think that one of the problems that humanity has at this present time is that sense that people don't believe that they can change the world, and that they need to understand that actually, when you become involved yourself, and if we all did that on a global scale, we'd change it tomorrow? Is that one of the problems, that people's lack of belief that they can change the world?
Yeah, because the responsibility of for changing the world does not lie with them. It lies with some other entity, whether it is the governments, whether it is the angels that'll drop from heaven.
They think that.
They think that. Yeah. So they don't include themselves in the equation. That yes, they can make a difference, but it is true that they can make a difference, and just knowing that can have a huge impact. That yes, you are a very critical part of that machinery that will make peace happen on this earth. That you're not separate from it. You're not just a recipient of a news that, oh yeah, today there's peace in this world, thank you very much. No, you are part of making it happen. And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you are. You know, and we put so much emphasis on our youth, which is so important because they are our future. But I want to also see empowerment of the people who are not children. Maybe they are great-great-grandfathers. Maybe they've only got 3 more days to be on this earth. But for them to realize as well that they are a part of that process of making peace happen.
So we're completely in agreement. And I'm sure
Yeah,
the people
yes,
who are
yes, of
watching
course.
are in agreement too, that actually the greatest challenge that we all have is for us all to just embrace the idea that we can change this world as individuals. And if we stand together as one and do that, then bingo.
But all of us.
All of us.
All
Whether
of
you're
us.
a great-granddad or a young person in primary school, we've all got to become a part of this. We've all got to accept that actually peace is possible, that we can change this world, we can lift the level of consciousness around the fundamental issues we face, quickly. I mean, you talk about, in our lifetimes, that, seeing it differently. I mean, that's just totally right, isn't it? I mean, we could change this and that's where, again, it goes to film cameras. You having your red camera and you having your box that you go into a hotel room in the world and you flip it up and open it up and the camera comes out. And that's the way, isn't it? I mean, technology, is really big part of humanity's survival now, right? I mean, the way that you're sending your messages, because in many ways, the answer to what we've just discovered, which of course we knew, is how do you then do it? Well, you get your camera out and you send messages out as far as wide as possible, telling people that look, you are the change maker.
Sure. And just responding to one thing, there's a lot of disbelievers. No, these changes cannot happen. People will never go for peace. And I just have to say one thing to them. Look around the world. You think if everything is really in bad shape, we did that. And that's just one side of the coin. On the other side of the coin is peace. So if we can create, which we have, if we can create all these wars and all these problems that we have, the other side of the coin is peace and a very beautiful place for all mankind to enjoy. That's the other side of the coin. So if this is possible, then the other is possible.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, I've been pretty much every conflict zone of the world, and I'm in 107 countries in the last few years, and like you... But frankly, wherever I've gone, whether it was Afghanistan or Sudan or Somalia, I never saw anyone fighting. I just saw beautiful people, like really passionate and courageous and hopeful. Pretty much everywhere you go is peace. I mean, of course I understand that there are people suffering unnecessarily and unfairly, and it's tragic, and I wish it wasn't going on. But actually, the greatest war that humanity faces is with a fist. It's not with a gun. And the greatest violence that's going to happen today is in a domestic situation.
Yeah, you were saying, you've been to so many conflict zones. And when you were saying that, I was thinking, where the biggest conflict zone is? Right here. This is where the conflicts start. This is the big conflict.
Isn't the charter in the minds of men?
Exactly. It's right here. And understanding and offering, peace to each other and offering comfort to each other, right here. Comprehension of universe, right here. Right here. And every single human being on the face of this earth potentially carries the conflict zone on top, and also carries a place of peace within the heart of every single human being. Choose. And people like you who are going out and giving people an option, choose the peace.
It's very interesting, isn't it? And it's quite exciting. I mean, well, it's not quite exciting. It's incredibly exciting to think that it could be, really very different. I love this. I tell you what, the bit that I also get excited about is, the war machine. When they say, "Oh, the war machine, it makes so much money," and you're never going to be able to stop that. And it's like when you really look into it, actually, it makes far less money than peace does. I mean, to me, peace pays. Peace pays big time. I mean, the sort of, global GDP, 8% is taken up on war, meaning that, the large percent is all about peace. And the idea that the corporate sector is going into emerging markets and putting in trade and communications and technology, creating stability and creating jobs. And, this great work that the Institute for Economics and Peace, the information they're coming out with Steve Killalea, who's saying actually we're living in the most peaceful time that we've ever lived in. The corporate sector's desire to make more money is actually making more peace. So if greed created the war machine, now because peace pays more than war, it's like greed's creating the environment that we want. It's kind of fascinating, the economics of peace, and how actually, I guess what I'm saying is the little seed of hope that I have is if greed created war, peace pays better than war, and therefore we'll have more of it. And that I kind of find quite interesting about sort of commerce, is that it's a real driver in this process now.
In every human being, and that nature doesn't like vacuums. And in every human being, there's the beautiful, the positive, which is to like peace, to have peace, to do whatever possible to make peace. But when people are not with touch with themselves, there is a vacuum. And that vacuum is filled by greed, by anger, by fear. I mean, one of the things you also have to appreciate, how much fear there is in people sometimes. And how many governments and institutions use fear, not all of them, but use fear. And to me, it's like, hey, can we look at the positive side of who we are and not be afraid to go towards peace? Because people are like, well, what will happen? Well, wonderful things will happen. And yes, peace will attract prosperity. Prosperity. This is what we want. We like prosperity. I mean, we love prosperity. Yeah. But prosperity without peace is a disaster. It's chaos because it's filled with greed. It's filled with ignorance. It's filled with fear. But when you have prosperity with peace, it truly rocks. It's wonderful, it's beautiful, it's including everyone, it's going forward, it's understanding of human and humanity, not just one over the other. And it's just going forward, appreciating every day, appreciating each other, appreciating our cultures, appreciating languages, appreciating the way we look, because otherwise it's so like, no, you are this and you are that and you are... No. Prosperity will come when we all join hands. Prosperity will come when we all come together in that peace and move forward.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. I mean, it's very exciting. It makes me think that this drive, this sort of move forward and this investment in, infrastructure and trade links, which is creating a kind of stability. And I get what you mean, that's a lot of prosperity happening there, which is changing the infrastructure of places, which means that there is a protection around the resources, and therefore there's less fighting because sustainability is present when it wouldn't have been before. But what you're also saying is fine to have that prosperity and put that infrastructure in place, but at the same time back it up with peace.
Exactly.
And therefore, that's where I think, quite interestingly, the education of youth
around the issues of peace and instilling in them that sense of actually you are the peacemaker, and it's about what's going on for you, and that you having resolution amongst your friends and your family improves the quality of your lives, and therefore if that's happening within a community, it's improving the community, which of course is changing the world. So it's kind of so it's kind of two things, isn't it? We need to get excited about that prosperity, but we also need at the same time to invest in, those who are going to be the beneficiaries of that change.
I think everybody should be. Everybody should be.
Yeah, but how do we practically? I'm practically wondering how we, as that prosperity builds, how do we practically make that happen? I mean, who is going to instill or teach? I mean, I know that you are, and I'll do my little bit as a filmmaker too. Where's it going to come from? Where's the wisdom going to come from?
Here's one of the wisdoms. Rope. A rope.
Rope. Yes.
Especially the old style ropes, they were made out of sometimes coconut jute or stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, ropes are strong, but at the same time, you can take a little knife and cut one.
Yeah.
So they're fragile too.
Yeah.
Stone, very strong, very, very strong. But a rope going over a stone enough times will actually make a notch, not in the rope, but in the stone. You see that by the wells sometimes. And the rope going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth will make the stone give away. We need to just remind people again and again, everyone included. Everyone included. I want to include everyone. I want to include youth. I want to include those people who will teach the youth. Very important. Because if they are out of touch with themselves, what are they going to be teaching the youth? I want to include the youth. I want to include people who are going to be teaching the youth. I want to include business people. I want to include governments. I want to include the poor people. I want to include the rich people. I want to include people who think they should not be included. I want to include everybody. I want to even include those people who we have said, oh, you have done something wrong, let's lock you behind four walls, because they're going to be coming out of those four walls too, and then what?
Yeah.
I want to include everybody. This is good news, and I want to say it again and again and again, like you need to, I need to, everybody needs to remember again and again and again and again, peace is possible.
Peace is possible, man. Yes, it is.
And maybe one day, it'll stick.
Yeah.
Well, if the rope can make a notch in stone, I see hope.
Yeah. And it does stick, and that's the point that you're making. I mean, that's why we're inspired and empowered and gunning it every day and working hard, isn't it? And indeed, many, many others all over the world. It is possible. It does work. Forgiveness happens. People can stop. Even when you say they can't, they can.
Yes, of course.
We have to believe, and, and it is absolutely possible. I really want to see it happen in our lifetimes. Of course, who knows? It's a process, it's a journey.
And who said it can't?
And absolutely no one. Or maybe someone did.
No, but
we're not going to get into...
If a rope can make a notch in a stone,
yeah,
why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, and that's where technology becomes very, very exciting, isn't it?
Let's use everything.
Yeah.
Let's use technology, and let's use non-technology if there is any such thing. If it means going from place to place, let's do that.
Yeah.
If it means putting it on television, let's do that. Let's get excited. Let's get excited about this, And to me, it's like this grand wedding. And two people are going to come together. But all these people are also going to come and have a grand old time. And yes, there's going to be photographs. And yes, there's going to be this and that's I mean, let's just get excited about human beings realizing the potential of not only themselves as a human, but the potential of humanity on the planet Earth.
Yeah.
Because for trillions and trillions and trillions of miles all around us, there's nobody out there but us.
Yeah.
And they're still looking if there's life out there. I'm sure there is. But for right now, it's us on this earth. And we have to make a difference.
Yeah. I love it.
I love it. It's so exciting. I mean, when you were thinking then, Peace Day's coming, the largest Peace Day it will ever be. 600 million people now. We can see on paper well over 600 million people will be aware. And the Peace Palace at The Hague asked me to produce the 100-year celebration of the Peace Palace because we received the Carnegie Wattler Peace Prize last time it was given, which was a great honor. And so I produced this show with these incredible artists from all over the world. I mean, massive, this, with a live broadcast and et cetera, et cetera. It'd be wonderful if you could come along. I don't know if you're free on Peace Day. You'll be talking about peace clearly somewhere.
Somewhere.
As I'm hearing you say those exciting words, it would be lovely if in between, Jude Law's there hosting and all of these amazing people. It'd be lovely if you could just remind people that it is possible and it's exciting. So I was with this historian on war, and he was talking about war, and he knew everything about war. And I was thinking, God, man, your life must be so depressing. How are you coping, when you know what you know about war? And he said to me, actually, I'm so hopeful. And I'm like, why is that? He said, because of technology and the way it's moving. It's like we're so in touch with each other now. And on a scale that is like just not imaginable a few years ago, that this information is making us so accountable that we can spread these positive messages. And that's why I'm, of course, fascinated by your little box that opens up and you talk to the world. It's like, because it is making a big difference, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I certainly hope so. Because, look, I don't look at it is the deadline tomorrow, is the deadline day after tomorrow. But there is no deadline. Let's just all get going in the same direction, and you have something to offer through technology. Come on board. You have something to offer, be human, be human, be human. There's nothing wrong with being human. To me, it is inside every human being that the divinity resides. And, you've heard it is error to human, to forgive is divine. Both are in us, both of those elements. Yes, we can make mistakes and we can crawl out of our mistakes. It is from the dust that we came, the dust we have to go. But in the meantime, here's this dust that can actually, for a short period of time, take control of its destiny. And this is what I see, is that people getting excited about peace. People understanding that peace will bring unparalleled prosperity, that we can move all together, that these are not impossible dreams. These are very, very possible dreams. If we can make things so miserable for people, then we can make things very beautiful for people, because it is just the flip side of it, And it's, yes, we all should be very excited about it. And everyone included.
Yeah.
Everyone included.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this card, Captain Prem Rawat, qualified in, commercial rotorcraft, helicopter glider, multi-engine land, instrument, Cat 2, and so on. I mean, you're qualified to fly all kinds of vehicles.
Yes.
I mean, how did that begin? I mean, listen, I'm fascinated about how that's then transporting you and your message, and now something just opened up for me as to how you can do what you do. Because going through economy and security and with all your bags, I mean, it's going to be hard work. It's going to be hard work anyway. But when did you become a pilot? And you're qualified in so many vehicles. Where does the love of all of that begin? And is that where you find peace?
No. I don't find peace. That peace is inside of me.
Okay.
But I did realize that You know, when I was traveling around in India and then when I came to England and so on, I realized that, well, one of the things that you have to do is you have to go places. And you have to go places where there may not be big commercial airliners going there. So how am I going to get to these places? And so I decided that I'm going to learn how to fly. And I started flying, and when I would go on tours, and I was too young to have a license. I was too young to even have a student pilot's license.
But you wanted one?
I was only 13, I couldn't have one. So I would just take lessons. So everywhere I go, Australia, I was taking lessons, South Africa, I was taking lessons, America, I was taking lessons, England, I was
This is when you were 13, so yeah.
Yeah, that's when I got to just come. And then on my 16th birthday, I got the license that was legal to have. And so after the first license I got. And then I realized that, you know, I have to go to the places. And so it just makes complete sense to have the ability to be able to go and fly. Because, you know, maybe the runway is only 3,000 feet. There's no commercial traffic coming in there, but you got to go there because people are interested in this message of peace. So that's when I just started learning and learning and learning. And to me, I was just fascinated by things that I could learn. Because learning to me has been just, I never ever want to stop learning. You know, there's no end to learning, and I don't want to ever stop learning. And aviation, I just really started enjoying it, and I really liked it, and so I just kept getting the type ratings and moving on and learning how to fly. And you know, and of course then I learned how to fly helicopters, and then it was like, well, you know, now you know helicopters, you know airplanes, what about glider? You know, and I still don't have a single engine airplane rating. I cannot fly a single engine airplane. I can fly a twin engine airplane, I can fly a 4-engine airplane, I can fly a 3-engine airplane, but not single engine airplane. And then I went and I got glider type rating. And it was just so beautiful for me because, you know, you take off and you're being towed by an airplane, then all of a sudden you disconnect and you're just flying with wind and wings. No engine, nothing. And just gliding. And one day, it was just a beautiful day and I was in Florida and I see these hawks. And I get behind them, and they're soaring, and I'm just following them. And they're not bothered by me because I'm not making any noise. And they're climbing, and I'm climbing with them. And we just kept going in a circle, just climbing and climbing and climbing. And it was just so beautiful, you know. We have such a magnificent planet that we live on. And to see and to enjoy its beauty and what we have been given and to appreciate, not be so tempted to destroy it every second, but to appreciate this planet. And that is so much part of our humanity. I mean, since we are humans and we are made out of all the elements that are there, that come from this earth.
Yeah. I know that if I ask you the question, you'll say to me, you know, peace, because peace comes from within. I asked you, is that where you find peace? And you said, no, I find peace from within myself. But those moments, that moment that you described, you know, the glider soaring with the hawks, you know, that makes me just like feel peaceful. I mean, that makes me go, well, that's what peace is. I mean, the one time that I'm most peaceful is when I ride my wakeboard, and I ride a lot, and I ride with incredible wakeboard riders, and it's just, they ride for peace as well. And it's like when I'm on that board and I'm doing my tricks, and I'm, you know, it's like I'm not thinking about anything else, nothing else. All I'm thinking about is just, you know, and that's when I feel most peaceful, actually, because I'm not thinking about anything else. Is that what that moment was like when you were following those hawks?
No, my heart was just very full of gratitude. I was very thankful to be alive, and I was very thankful to be able to witness this and to feel this. I know what peace is. Peace is that place in me which has no duality, that I am filled with clarity, no doubt, certainty, not uncertainty, where I am. And I am with that beauty that resides in me. And know thyself makes complete sense.
Yeah.
You know, in that place of peace, it isn't about more or less. It is about being full of simplicity, not something that I am thinking about, am I in peace? You know, that's the thing. That when you are truly in that moment enjoying that wakeboard, you don't have time to say, am I enjoying myself right now? No, you just are, you know. And this feeling is the feeling that is embedded inside of every human being. It is not about conflict, but it is about the resolution of being alive, that you are alive, that your heart is filled with gratitude, that it is about you on this earth, on this planet Earth, in this time, with the most amazing, and all I can say is blessing. This breath coming into you, the most powerful wave coming into you, bringing you the gift of life. And you understand how fortunate you are to be alive.
Because I'm getting asked all the time, you know, what does peace mean to you, Jeremy? Peace to me means not being frightened. I know what it's like to be frightened. And I know what it's like not to be frightened. I'm not frightened now. So that's peace to me. That is peace. What you're talking about isn't something that I need to train for, is it? I.e., when we spoke earlier about like the person sitting, I don't know, meditating or reading a text for years and years, and you know, becoming the vegetable thing that you mentioned earlier. You know, we can all get to this place that you're talking about quickly, can't we?
Absolutely. All you need to do is turn within.
Yeah.
Of course, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's not like you create it. It's not taking two sticks and rubbing them together, and you have to keep rubbing them till there's a fire. No, it's already there. It's already there, and all you have to do is be able to get inside and touch with it.
Yeah. And that's the same as what we were talking about, being able to see life, peace in our lifetimes, isn't it? It's like, you know, if each and every one of us realizes that we are the peacemakers of this world, that the problem isn't over there, the problem is right here, and if we resolve it within ourselves and around us, each and every one of us, then we'll change the world forever. Yeah. So yeah, God, we have covered everything, and in all of these lovely ways. But I mean, I think it's incredible to meet you, like really incredible. And like I'd heard you speak before, and I've known about you, but what just blows me away, and I find it like, you know, when I think about it, like a Jedi Knight. You know, those guys in Star Wars, you know, who have their lightsabers, which I think is like our cameras. You know, they're the lightsabers that we use. It's the camera. I just think it's mind-blowing that you're so like in touch with what peace is all about, and that you're so in touch with like technology and how to utilize it with the red cameras and the sound, and that you fly the world in the most incredible planes, complex instruments, all for, you know, spreading the word of peace. I mean, you've got to be the greatest peace warrior on this planet. It really has been a massive honor to meet you, and really grateful for what you've shared with me, and I'm sure the people who watch this program will feel the same.
It's been a pleasure, Jeremy, meeting you, talking to you, and I truly hope that I'm not the only warrior, that every human being on the face of this earth is the warrior for peace.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care,
Jeremy.
Prem.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
After being with him,
Amazing.
I just felt like totally energized. I felt like, you know, I'd been in the company of, you know, a great peacemaker. You know, I'd been in the company of a man who had devoted his entire life to empowering people. A man of peace, you know. it's a privilege to meet people like that. Obviously, it's an honour. It's an incredible thing, you know, and I feel very lucky. It's just going to blow people away. It's going to, you know, that's like a Jedi. Do you know what I mean? He's a true Jedi, isn't he? So it was a really interesting, kind of exciting, fun, inspired, you know, moment in my life. It was cool.
Well, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was real.
Take care. Yeah, take care.
Yeah, thank you so much. Real massive honour.